Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's Wednesday Wisdom guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, you've heard me say many times on every episode, these are great companies. I used them. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Wednesday Wisdom guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards for their support. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say again many times, probably the best purchase I've ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to our friends at Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And I'm telling you, our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes, of course, love the videos. Our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 100 million fans and users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Beacon is a content creation service, and they're going to take your stories, your history about your coaches, your kids, your program, and create compelling narratives that you can then post on social media. You don't have to create it. They do it for you. Maybe you can post it on your Vital Signs Wall of Fame video board. I want you to reach out to John Townsend, and you can do that by emailing John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. It's a winning team that you should be a part of. Let's also say thank you to Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, communication, all the things you do as an AD, Home Campus will do them for you and better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention facilities? Did I mention athletic clearance and eligibility? Those are game changers unto themselves. I want you to go to homecampus.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the podcast. That's homecampus.com. We'd like to say thank you to Gipper for their support. Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for you and your athletic department to look Division I, even professional, without spending extra time or hiring extra staff. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. And it's easy because of the thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize in your own colors, your own brands, your own logos, create, share, and schedule all of your social media content on one simple platform. And that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com to get started. Let's also say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software program. If your boosters do sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales, all of that can now flow through one secure system. Volunteer signups, volunteer changes, you know it's going to happen. Nothing falls through the cracks. Everything stays strong and your community stays engaged. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. Go to boosterhub.com for more information. And as always, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the podcast. Let's say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they earned their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. check out the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. And let somebody you know who's looking for that advanced degree hear about it as well. Ohio University and their Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We want to say thanks to Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction? The Hometown list just goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. That's hometown.com. And finally, we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, at my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, even for parents. And here's the cool part. The information that came back on the surveys almost always over the top positive. I'm talking 98% approval. Now, we still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear their concerns, usually address them before they turned into something big. But getting back to that positive data, what a resource, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or sometimes when you're visiting with your principal or even your school board. Once again, go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. athleticsurveys.com. And as always, tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're bringing back a very popular guest on the podcast. Longtime listeners will certainly remember when we had Toni West on as a guest. If you missed that, please go back into our Spotify archives and take a listen. Toni has an incredible background as an athlete, as a collegiate coach. She spent her recent years in the administration end of it as the assistant principal in charge of climate and culture at Moreau Catholic. That's in the Bay Area in California. Again, tremendous background across all boards of education and athletics. But Toni West, welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you for having me back. I had such a great time last time and appreciate you having me again.
Oh, well, it's selfish on my part. We only want to have our best people come back. You and I were talking. I didn't know this, but we were talking before we hit the record button, and you had quite an experience this year that I've now putting the pressure on you to share with our listeners. Can you tell our listeners, what happened? And it's over now, but share that journey that you had this past winter.
Yes, this year, unfortunately, our head coach, our varsity girls basketball head coach, had to step down due to a couple of medical things. And I was asked by the athletic director and principal if I would step in place. And that happened to be November 13th, right before our scrimmages. And we had such an amazing group of girls. I couldn't imagine not being able to step up for them and help them finish off. We have 4 seniors their year. So that's what I did this year. In addition to assistant principal, I was the head girls varsity basketball coach this year.
Now, you again, you're not a rookie. You coach collegiately, very successful as an athlete and as a coach. But I mean, sometimes those things happen for an administrator. What was the first thing that you did?
Well, due to it being a last minute change, the first thing I did was want to connect with the girls and make sure they were okay. At such a young age, we have sophomores to seniors on this team. At such a young age, whenever there's any type of change, that is hard for young people to deal with. So making sure that they were set. And then the next one was explaining the difference between, me as a coach versus me as an assistant principal. So they would have to be introduced to me as a different, in a different capacity. And then just making sure that we had the right group to move forward. So I was lucky in the fact that my athletic director and assistant principal, in the short time that I had before our scrimmage, allowed me to go through a tryout process. So I was able to do a 3-day tryout, do different things where it wasn't just physical, but mental things with the players, get a lot of feedback from the returners on what kind of team that they wanted and what their individual and team goals were, and then to move from there. So that was really important for me before starting the season, to have that time with the players before we got started.
Now, I mean, I got to ask. They obviously they approached you to be the head coach because your background, because your leadership, and leadership shown in a number of different areas. But did you have an assistant coach that maybe knew the girls, knew the team a little bit?
Uh, yes, there's a longtime JV head coach that was assistant coach for the varsity team. So she stayed on staff. Um, Fun fact, this wasn't the first time I had to take over. So our seniors, it was their frost year, I had to step in, and it was actually later on in the season. It wasn't until end of January, but I had to do the same thing. So fun for me. Uh, but yeah, so that coach had coached with me before and knew the players. And then I also kept another coach that they had on staff that did more of some of the shooting percentage stats, and um, just a really like supportive uncle type presence for the girls, the one that'll bring like the water and the orange slices and all that stuff, but had a really great relationship with the players. And then I was lucky that one of my longtime coaches, that was my assistant coach when I coached in the collegiate level, his family came to Moreau when I started coaching at Moreau in 2015, and he's on the boys' side. So this year, he split his time to help support me on the girls' side. So I ended up having tons of help, along with a couple of students that helped in areas. I chart effort. I make it I make it in a way that the girls understand what effort looks like and how they can increase their productivity and playing time through effort. So I had students that helped in that, and then I also had somebody else on staff that helped with stats. So I ended up being able to pull together a lot of support for this team.
Oh wow, great! Again, great stuff. And at some point, I think for an athletic director who's listening right now, you're probably going to be faced with that. A coach has to leave right at the start of the season, and you're not going to have time to go out and hire somebody. You might be that person that's taking over the program from a leadership standpoint, but having that support team, the JV coach, the other people that know the program, have that have that worst case scenario plan in place,
Yeah.
so you're not completely caught off guard. I'm curious. Again, we all, as coaches, as ads, we're all competitive. We all want to win, and I'm sure that was on your mind as well. But what were some of the other things that were going through your mind as far as hey, I want to make sure I do this as you were putting literally the program together?
Yeah, I wanted to first off, I wanted to make sure that the girls were okay. Again, it's really hard, and especially young people, they don't know the difference between somebody leaving them for any reason, whether they feel a sense of like this is not fair, I'm being abandoned. Um, we had set these goals together, so making sure that they had enough time to communicate what they were worried about and their anxiety. The other thing that I wanted to make sure was to um, then communicate to the parents who were used to me in a different position as well. I am different as the coach. And the levels of how different I am as a coach depends on the goals of the players. We can have a fun kumbaya season and everything and have fun, and play little games and all that stuff. But it also becomes different if the girls want to go to state, if they want to make a state run. It's different in those levels. And as parents, I need you to show up in a way that supports not only your player, but every student on the team. So you can't counteract what we're building here because you're so worried about your daughter individually that it might put in some like doubt or disbelief and mess up what we can do as a team. So those were the two things that buy in and them understanding me as a different person from an AP versus as a coach.
Okay. Well, the season is completed now. Obviously, we're in spring sports, but give us some insight into how you felt the season went. Highs, lows, wins, losses. Looking back on the experience, what can you share with us?
I am extremely proud of these players. They bought in. Again, we went over their individual goals as well as their team goals. Their team goals were to be undefeated in league. So they wanted to win league and be undefeated. And they wanted to make it to state. Um, and we did both of those things. So we ended up going undefeated in our league, in our conference, and then we made it to NCS. We didn't win NCS, but we did well enough to make it to state. And then we ended up playing a really, really good team, Oakland Tech, with two D1 players, and they were like 6'4". And my little girls, it looked like we were playing the Monstars. It was amazing. But they started off, we were up by 4.5, and then we ended up losing by 15 to that team. But very proud of the players. All of them individually. We had a team meeting where we looked at their stats the year before and where they were. And I think we were 18 games into season, and they could all see where they increased their productivity. That helped with the buy-in, but also and them reaching their individual goals. Out of our 12 players, we had 9 players on our all academic team. And then we ended up getting 4 players that got our first all team. So to get 4 players on the all team was absolutely amazing. Um, so yeah, we had a really good season, and I tell them I couldn't even imagine what we could have done, in this program. Most of the teams that go to state, they have players that have been long time with the same coach in the same system. So for all of them to learn different offense and defense and all that stuff and still excel says a lot about who they are as players and what they accomplished as a team. So we did well. So and that'll be my last year coaching. I've said that before, but I'm like, I'm retired from coaching now.
Until the next time they come knocking. Well, I think anybody looking at the program would say successful on a number of different levels. I'm going to bet, looking back, there might be one thing that you would say, I might have done this differently, or I wish I would have done this. Anything come to mind as you look back?
I think um, I think I knew where we would lose, you know, and um, because we didn't have tall team and all that stuff. And so I think I probably would have, I don't want to say reframe their goals because it was important to listen to their goals and then buy in and keep that being the forefront. But to reframe it in a way that they didn't feel maybe as much pressure. Sometimes you want to like in a positive way, make sure goals are realistic and, be upfront without killing belief. I think we could have lined up so they weren't so business minded about reaching the goals. So we could have had more time for fun and everything. We didn't get the preseason in the summer like a lot of teams do when they're building with their coaches. By the time I got into it, it was like you have to hit the ground running. And I think that's what I would have changed. I mean, this again, an amazing group of girls. And I would have loved to just hang out and kick it with them instead of it having to always be about basketball. So I think that's probably one of the things I would have changed the most.
Okay. Since you brought that up, I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. You're planning for next year this imaginary head coaching position that I'm hiring you for. What are some of the things you're going to do to develop that part of your program? Not really basketball X's and O's, but what are some things that you would do to develop that aspect of your culture?
Yeah, when I first got to Moreau, I was hired early enough that I was able to have a lot of one-on-ones with individual players, but I also was able to do like a retreat to take them to another place on campus. And that retreat be more of getting to know them as people, doing more of the games, the team building part, so we could move forward in that way. I think because we didn't get to do any of those preseason parts, if I would have changed it a little bit more, I would have been a little bit more aware of no, sneak these in. Sometimes it doesn't have to be about the the building the mind and all the quotes and the toughness scale and all that. And if I was coming in next year, I would make sure that I made time for just just some of those team building things where they get to laugh and be together and um, kumbaya, have kumbaya moments.
Well, again, I think Kumbaya gets a bad rap. It's certainly not going to be the primary focus of any competitive athletic program, but it can be a great addition when used, let's say, with proper amounts and with the proper leadership. So, I think we're good with Kumbaya, but it's not it's not total. We're not having a varsity Kumbaya team. If we were to have your student athletes on this podcast, and maybe that's the next step, you need to get your team in here for an interview. What do you think some of those veteran players that had you when they were freshmen in a similar situation and now had you again as seniors, how would they describe Coach this year?
It's funny. I have had a lot of conversations with two of the seniors that are graduating that were first all team. One of them is going to continue playing at Cal State LA, a Division II team. Um, but both of them came in as Frosh star players. Like they were really, really good. And when I took over their Frosh year, I sat them a lot because we had 7 seniors. And my goal was to help seniors move to the next level. What do we need to do or implement in your game to help them? Of course, as Frosh, they did not understand that. So I was very, very evil in their eyes. Fast forward this year, and we've had conversations about, oh, you weren't that bad. I understand what you were doing now. So I'm glad that I was able to see um, their transition in how they viewed me as players, but also their ability to buy in. I think it did help that I had them and they sat, because then they were able to communicate to the sophomores that weren't going to get the playing time about, okay, but if you listen to what she's saying and implement it into your game, then it will help you build in your total capacity. So having them buy in early when I took over this year was a game changer. So yeah, but I used to tease them. I was like, "So how many names did you call me your frosh year?" So they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we called you names."
Oh, did they share that? Did they that you can share on the podcast? Did they have a behind the scenes name for you that you can share, or you don't want
Oh
to go
no,
there?
not that. Oh no, not that I could share.
No, again, that's I always like to ask that question, but I don't expect to get an answer either. I guess let's wrap up with this one. You mentioned that you're retiring again. Was there any effort, if you will, maybe positive pressure from admin or parents or players for you to come back and coach next year?
Um, every year, yes. um, but I feel like I can do more in school settings without coaching. Coaching takes a lot, and I think the people that know and respect what coaches do understand that the amount of hours of breaking down film, of going over scouts, of trying to figure out how to get your players better and everything, it is a full-time job. And I was lucky enough, again, to have a principal that played at a very high level, also coached, that was like, you know what, we can take some of these duties off your plate and share this so that you could focus in these areas for these players. Um, but yeah, that's not what people want all the time from an assistant principal. So no pressure to continue. It was fun going back and seeing the coaching community is amazing, and seeing people that I haven't seen in a long time and other high school coaches that are like, no, not back into the game, just one season. No.
No. But again, congratulations on having that great experience. Doesn't always work out that way when you come back, but sounds like you had a
Yeah.
great support system. Sounds like you helped develop that support system as well. For our listeners, I mentioned a couple times, Toni, tremendous background as an athlete, as a coach, as a leader, now as a principal. If our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain, she's also a speaker. She does conferences and conventions. If you want to connect with Toni, what's the best way that they can reach out and add you to their network?
On Instagram, they could find me at Toni West, ToniWest. You can find me at Toni West, or they can look me up on LinkedIn. I did get a few people that connected with me via LinkedIn due to your podcast. So thank you for those connections. But those are probably the two best ways to reach out. And yes, I love questions and talking all things athletics. Just not having to coach, but I love talking athletics.
Well, Toni, you always have a open invitation to come back on the podcast and share with our listeners. All the best moving forward. Hope the spring season wraps up quietly for you. No more surprises. And we are definitely going to bring you back on the podcast.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day. And thank you for spending time with me like always.
Oh, absolutely. For the listeners, we want to say thanks to you for tuning in. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. This is a Wednesday Wisdom segment. We do it about once a week, and just about every day we try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode The Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Hey, before we go, of course, we want to give another shout out to our great sponsors. Thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Turn your school into a social media marketing destination. That's Gipper.com. I want to say thanks to Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results. Check out homecampus.com. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Email John Townsend and find out all the things that Beacon Creative can do for you. Booster Hub. It's the #1 Booster Club software program. Go to boosterhub.com. Ohio University's online masters in athletic administration. If you know somebody that's looking for their masters in athletic administration or sport management, tell them to check out Ohio University, one of the most respected names in the field. Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. Join the 100 million users and fans. That's huddle.com. Athletic surveys. If you're not using a survey to check the pulse of your parents, your coaches, your student athletes, you're missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Check out sidelineinteractive.com. And Hometown. Fundraising, digital ticketing, athletic website construction. You're going to find it all at hometown.com. Thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.